So what I've done is I've taken 2 pieces of equal length aluminum foil. Now I actually have some really wide aluminum foil here, which is actually what I need for my smoker. The whole point is to actually get it wide enough to where it encompasses the meat and doesn't touch the side of the meat. You don't want to actually have a consistent touch on the side, because then you won't actually allow the flavors of the smoke to get around that side. So anyway, this is our 2 pieces of aluminum. We got 2 pieces here, and the whole idea is just to roll up the edges, and by rolling up the edges you're actually going to make a boat. So what we do is we just take the edge and we just roll them up and in. Kind of hard to do with one hand here, but you can get a vision of what I'm doing here. So again, we're just making, I guess it would be a reverse boat, because you're actually going to use it to trap all the juices in here. So I'm going to go ahead and finish rolling this. You can see I've got all the edges rounded over and actually come up. You can see that they truly make a dish here all the way down. And I just gently round it over the top all the way down, so it gives it some more strength. So now we put our boat inside the smoker, and I'm pulling it away a little bit from the edges. I just want to make sure that I actually have clearance all the way around for the smoke to come up and through, and for the heat to come up and around. Alrighty, so here we go. We got it slit, and we just pull our big hunk of brisket out. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. Shake off the bag. Now for this piece, I'm actually going to stick it right down here by the fire, particularly this big fatty piece. Now you can see right here, they actually cut, unfortunately, inside of it, but that'll give you an idea how thick the fat is on it. So anyway, now as this cooks, this is actually going to get significantly smaller. The whole thing, it's going to really shrink down on you. So there we go. I got him moved all completely out of the way, and I've got a space down here for the more lean brisket. Look at that lean brisket. That looks like a good hunk of meat. So there we go. Get this all added in. Now you see one thing I'm doing here. I am actually putting the fat up, and that's very important. The lean side is actually down here on the big brisket. Now the reason that you do it this way is so the fat actually drips all the way through. Now you'll see another thing that I mentioned earlier that I'm not doing. I'm not covering this up. The trick isn't to cook it at the end with the smoke. The trick isn't to cook it just at the beginning with the smoke. My method cooks it the entire time, exposed to the flame and exposed to smoke. Now this is a flame box on the side, so you get mainly smoke and heat just in here, so you're not going to have direct flame. But what this is going to do is it's going to allow for it to just be permeated with that smoke flavoring, and it's going to make this thing taste phenomenal. So get them worked out a little bit. Now this side down here is my low side. I actually have a little bit of a tilt, which is actually what I want with my particular setup, because again, I've got a lean brisket down here. So because of this lean brisket, I need to let all the juices from this one, as they cook down and out, they need to move down here. So now you may be worrying about this piece right here being so close to the fire, it's already starting to warm up. That's okay. It's not going to hurt it, because once we close the lid, the smoke's going to, and the heat's going to permeate the whole thing. We're going to get an even heat temperature across it, and more important than even that, this is the big fatty part. There's so much fat here that there's going to be enough juices actually dripping down through the meat and permeating the meat that you're not going to cause any issues. It's been less than a minute now, so it definitely hasn't been that long, and you can see all the smoke that's pouring out of it. Now there's debate as to what color smoke you want. For the barbecue I actually prefer this white smoke. I want the meaty, smoky taste that comes with it. So what I'm going to do now that I know the fire's actually going really good is I'm going to add some of my chips here. Now this is a mixture of the pecan and apple, so I'm going to take about a handful of them, let them drip some of the water out, and I'm just going to toss them up in there. There we go. So now we're going to infuse it with some of that pecan and apple wood. And trust me, particularly for you Texans, if you have never smoked with pecan before, it's going to add a very distinctive, very beautiful flavor to your end product. And same thing with oak. I know a lot of Texans do just pure straight mesquite, and it tastes fine. I did it for years, but adding just a little hint of oak, you don't have to add a whole lot. Just a few pieces of oak will add a completely different flavor to your meat and will make it taste that much better. So the next natural question you should be asking yourself, or asking me actually, is how often do you check the meat? Truthfully, you don't have to check the meat. The meat's not what you're worried about here. What you're worried about actually is the flame or the smoke, the firebox is what you're worried about. The key is to keep the firebox at a pretty constant temperature. You don't want it to go too high, you don't want it to go too low. Area where your meat is, make sure you try to keep it around 200, 250 degrees. If it's hotter than that, vent it. If you're using real wood, like I do, you'll find that it's actually really easy to keep the temperature at a very low temperature, particularly with the model that I built, because what it's doing is it actually smothers the flame because there's no pure oxygen continual source the way that having it open actually does. Now if I open up, as you saw, the firebox, then I get a rush of flames, I get a rush of heat, the cooking area goes up very, very quickly, and you have to be careful of that. Now if you're just going out there and checking your fire just to make sure it's good and making sure that you actually have smoldering inside your firebox, then that's fine. It's just going to spike it for a couple of minutes and then it'll come right back down. The main thing, just make sure you actually have some wood source or charcoal inside your smoke box and you're actually fine. The brisket itself, you really don't have to check it. If you want to check it, then that's cool, but you don't have to. Now, one of the tricks that I do is about 6 hours before I serve the brisket, I actually take the physical brisket and I flip it upside down. Now, you saw that I have it exposed. What it's doing is it's building a char layer on the top of the brisket, and that char layer will wind up being very, very thick. But since the bottom side is not exposed, because I have it in that aluminum boat, because of how long I cook it, or smoke it rather, you don't get any char on the bottom, which I found that I really didn't like. I wanted some of the char on the bottom. So around 6 hours, you can make it 8 hours if you want to. Flip the meat over. At that point, your meat is almost completely cooked anyway. There will be juices running back through the meat because it's been saturated. All the fat has been saturated in that meat for so long. You don't have to worry about drying out your meat. Again, keep the temperature low. That is the key with everything we're doing here. It's all about temperature. If you go too high, you're going to ruin your meat. You go too low, it's not going to be cooked. So it's now been about an hour. So like I said, about every couple hours or so I come out and check. At the beginning, you definitely want to get some good checks in just to make sure that your firebox is the way you want it to be and everything is looking good. And especially right now with how dry it is here in Texas, I want to make sure that everything is safe. You need to keep an eye on it. Don't go off and go do something. This is a labor of love. You have to make sure that you get up at night, you take care of it. You have to make sure that you keep the area around it moist in case something happens with, for some reason, embers coming out. So we're going to go ahead and check our smoke box real quick. And everything's looking good. Really like the way that it's looking in there. And once again, as you can see, there's no actual flame yet. Now as we get the oxygen actually going in there, you'll see that we'll start some flames popping up. There we go, there's some flames. Alright, now I'm going to grab some more wood real quick. Now again, I really like the bark. And I split this wood earlier today. So, this piece right here. Throw my pieces of bark up in there. Put that new piece in there. And we'll go ahead and grab some more chips so we can get some more of the flavoring, because I can see that all these have been smoked off already. So it's just about continually checking the fire and adding more in, more smoke, more items to smoke. Okay, and there we go. Just toss them on up in there. Alrighty, so it's been about 6 hours or so. So definitely still nowhere close to being done yet. But been checking the fire off and on, and the fire's still doing pretty good. Over here in the smoke box, probably can't see it that well with the sun the way that it is, but definitely down to just some embers here, which is doing good. Gonna go ahead and grab some more wood and get a refill. Set them all up in there. Okay. Get a little piece of oak here. Alrighty. So now get some mesquite, some oak up in here. Have some more of the pecan and apple wood here, really soaked good. And then we're gonna toss it up in there. And there we go. Okay, so it has been about 10 hours now. I'm coming out, checking on the fire, and everything's actually looking really good with the fire and the smoke and everything. But turn around and you can actually see that there's a nice, beautiful char all over the entire thing. Now the beautiful thing is that it's actually permeated down through the meat at this point. So it's not just on the top. There's the little pool of fat over there that I was talking about earlier. You can actually see there's some depth to it, which excuse me, which is being sucked up by that piece right there. Close the lid real quick. Got some fire going there. Close the lid. Let me open up the firebox real quick. You can see that we have some fire going right now. That's just because I had the lid open. Everything's been doing really good though, and you can see I've got some of the bark in there, and a big piece right here. And this is going to cook down over the next couple of hours, and then I'll throw in a couple of big logs for overnight. And before I do that, I want to water the ground where I'm at. Make sure that I don't have to worry about anything overnight.